water fasting is different to vegetable juice fasting. So all of them you go through, basically 4 stages. You've got lipolysis, which is when you start to use up the glycogen in the human body. So when we eat, carbohydrates, or pretty much any food, it gets converted into glycogen, which gets stored in the muscles and the liver. And then we call on that glycogen for movement. So for me, moving my arms right now, I'm using glycogen. Right? So what happens is when you fast, the first step is lipolysis, and you start to use up that glycogen. And then the second step is autolysis, which is when you eat away at what I call the dead, diseased, dying and decaying cells. So you start to eat away at those cells. And then the third step is gluconeogenesis, when you start recycling those proteins. So we talked about you've got old cells in the human body, you start eating them and recycling them. When you grow, that's gluconeogenesis. And then the fourth stage is ketosis or ketogenesis, and that's when you are converting body fat into energy. So the body stores it as ketones, and you convert it into ketones, and then you use that for energy. And so generally, for some people, it can take about 3 days before they start feeling good on a fast. So often on a fast, I know I said earlier that sometimes if it's not the right time to fast, you'll know and don't fast. But other times you do have to push through, and fasting does take some willpower. It does take some willpower, like actually standing up in society today and saying, you know what, I'm not going to buy anything today, I'm not going to eat anything today, but I'm still okay, I'm fine, I fit in with everyone, and I'm going to carry on. It's almost like revolutionary, and it's quite disruptive, Yeah. It's quite an intervention. And, I read somewhere, someone said something, I can't remember the quote, but it was something around fasting is the ultimate revolution, because you're just not plugged into all the stuff. You're literally not a consumer anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's quite freeing. But for the mind and the clarity, when you do fast, you go through those 4 stages, lipolysis, autolysis, gluconeogenesis, ketogenesis, and you start then burning away at the body fat. And often that's the time when your breath can go quite rank as well, so you get that kind of fasting breath. But you can also experience those highs. Like the highs that I've experienced while fasting are just extraordinary. You get so present, so mindful, and so filled with energy. Like I literally wake up in the morning. You wake up at 5 in the morning and you're wide awake, and I'll come back, I'll get up in the morning and go and do some exercise, go for a walk or whatever in the bush, and come back, and Tracy will still be asleep, and she'll get up and go, she goes, did you fasting high? And I went, yeah, a fasting high moment. I had to get out in nature and just walk, and you feel amazing. And that is genuinely a real high, because there's no stimulants, there's no dopamine, there's nothing coming in. That is just a generated high from the human body. So for some people it takes a few days to get to that. Other people it hits them straight away. So fasting, really, there is no standard way that any fast is going to go. If we had a bunch of 30 people in the room here, and for the next week there was nothing but water and the occasional vegetable juice, everyone would experience it differently. It would be completely different for everybody. But they'd all have these highs and lows, and a lot of them would have a high and they'd just sit at the high. Others would have real lows, they'd feel nauseous and upset and emotional, and because they've been literally stuffing their emotions down with food for 40 years. So it's an amazing high from a creative perspective, and from being mindful and being present, and feeling joy and gratitude. You really, you reset your taste buds, and what happens is when you start eating again, particularly if you do a long fast, longer than 5 days or so, just eating an apple is the most extraordinary thing. You just go, and you chew the apple and you go, oh, wow. And it's such an amazing thing. And you realize how abused your taste buds are with our typical diet, salt and sugar on everything, additives and preservatives and herbs and spices and all this stuff. When literally a bowl of brown rice, I remember after that 31-day fast I did back in the 80s or the 90s, I had a bowl of brown rice after a couple of days of just coming off onto lighter foods. And it was just one of the most phenomenal tasting meals I've ever had, just simply because my taste buds were so clean. And that leads into parenting and giving your kids a wider range of plain foods and all that kind of stuff is another podcast, parenting. But it's the highs you get are amazing, and you really have to expect the unexpected when you fast.